Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation on Jira Dashboard Best Practices. My name's Morgan Folsom. I'm a product manager at Old Street Solutions, an Atlassian marketplace partner. As someone who's built far too many dashboards in my time, both for myself and others, I wanted to walk through today some good best practices for building dashboards that people want to actually use. So let's get started and dig into what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so I think we've all seen bad dashboards, right? Like we can see on the screen, they're either all text or like the underlying data is not very good, or you can't even figure out what it's supposed to be telling you. The bigger and more complex your Jira instance gets, the harder it can be to cleanly display those like reports that are actually useful, right? Specifically with dashboards in Jira, they're super easy to create. Like really anybody can create a dashboard. As one of the most powerful reporting capabilities in Jira, there's a ton that you can do with it. With that, it can be a little bit overwhelming, sorting through all of the gadgets and trying to figure out what your dashboard should look like, all that fun stuff. So let's walk through some best practices to creating your dashboards. Okay, so the very first thing that a dashboard should be is informative. It may seem like it doesn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. So the first thing you should be doing when you're building dashboards is identifying like the actual information that you want to display. So the point of a dashboard should be to clearly communicate a message to the viewer, and that should be about something that whoever your audience is cares about. So with that, I start with two questions. So the first is, who's the audience? Is this dashboard just for me, for my personal use? Is it for my team? Is it for like C-level, for executives? So answering that question first is really important because those different groups want to see different things, right? The dashboard that you built for your own personal use is likely different than what like your CFO wants to see out of Jira reporting, right? So answering that question makes the next one a lot easier. So then it's like, really, what do I want to show? So with this, I recommend really thinking bigger than just like, I want to see how many issues are in each status, but thinking more about like, what does this say? What's the message that I want my dashboard to be communicating? So a lot of people will start building reports by just picking like the easiest things to report on. But making sure that you're communicating a message with your dashboard is just going to make them so much more likely to be used. So for example, like, do I want to see if my project is on track, or if the workload is evenly distributed among my team members, or what do I have to do today, right? So those are very different messages. And let's look at some examples of what that might look like on a dashboard. Okay, so let's use this one as an example to start with. So we see this dashboard, it's called program status. We've got some interesting things on here. It looks pretty nice. Starting in the top left, we see what's only my issues broken down by issue type. Okay, as an individual contributor, that's probably a useful thing to view. Next to the right, we've got a RAG report. So we've got that red, amber, green project status. That's pretty good. It's, it looks good. Then we've got some, status breakdown across projects and some average age, which, they're all, I would say, on their own, pretty good reports or pretty good dashboard gadgets. But I'm not really sure what story they're telling together. I don't know who's looking at this dashboard, right? So if I'm an individual contributor, like a developer or an agent, seeing my issues makes sense, but I probably don't care about like program status reports. I may not want to see a RAG report for projects that I'm not on or for work that I don't interact with, right? And the same goes the opposite way, right? If I'm reporting at the program level, do I really care about the average age of issues? Maybe, but also maybe not, right? So thinking about how these things interact and what the dashboard is trying to say is a good first step to make it so people, when they visit your dashboard, know what to expect and know what they're going to get out of it. Okay, so next, the next best practice is to make your dashboards easy to understand. So finding a balance between powerful reporting and clear reporting is definitely not always an easy task. You want to include as much information as your audience needs, even if that audience is just you, while also making it clear what the report is about. So ideally, you should be able to look at a report and immediately understand what's going on. So that's sort of my golden rule. And if we look at this, another RAG chart as an example, this one's using the out-of-the-box pie chart gadget. It's okay. We can see it's a particularly good report because the amber is red and the red is amber and the green is blue. Outside of barely even understanding what each color represents, I don't know what RAG is in this context, what makes a project green versus amber versus red, So that's the out of the box one. If you are looking to make this report a little bit better and maybe a little bit easier to understand, here we have the same report with custom charts gadget. So we still have a pie chart. It's the same data underneath, but we're able to customize the colors so they actually make sense in this context, right? We can reorder them and display percentages. And then even more than that, we can add some context too. So I have this description along the bottom. So now not only do I know which color is which, but I understand what each of those things represent to the business. So when we're looking at making dashboards easy to understand, using titles, descriptions, and color coding are really some quick wins. Incorporating as much context into them. Ideally, your charts don't need a ton of explanation for you to understand what's going on, but like we can see here, just give some further insights to what the data is showing. We've got one more example here. Here we've got the same native pie chart gadget that comes with Jira, and we're just trying to see how many issues are in to do, in progress, and done. If you have ever worked in a Jira instance with team managed projects, that's the formerly next gen projects, you've probably seen how that can impact your reporting. So if you take this chart, looking at it, if I want to figure out how many issues are in done, for example, I've got to do some math. So I've got to go through, see how many different done segments there are. I think there's 3 of them. Add up those numbers to get an actual total. If I want to drill into this, clicking on any of these segments to go and see them in the issue navigator to see that JQL, I would have to click on a few different links and combine that JQL, which is honestly just a bunch of extra steps that probably the people looking at your dashboard aren't gonna do, right? Folks have better things to do than try to parse out reports where it's not clear why they're broken up. If you don't understand how team managed projects introduce duplicate status names, this is probably a really confusing thing to look at the very minimum. It's also just, it's kind of ugly, right? So instead, when you have data like this, when you have a chart like this, look to combine duplicates, hide irrelevant information. So if we see sort of a custom chart, it looks much cleaner. So this custom charts does automatically group together statuses with the same name. So you don't have to do all of that manual effort when you're setting it up or when viewing the chart. Because the chart automatically grouped all the names together, I got to focus my efforts on making sure it displayed the information I wanted to and do some color coding, display those percentages, those sorts of things. I could focus on the little customizations that make it a little easier to view instead of trying to group together 6 statuses called to do. On that note, or on a similar note, let's look at our next best practice, which is to, there we go, make your dashboards easy to maintain. So if your reports or dashboards are going to take a lot of time and effort to maintain, they're gonna fall out of date. They just are. You have better things to do than go spend your time updating and checking reports for accuracy, right? An ideal set of reports or an ideal dashboard really should be you set it up once and you get to be very intentional about what it looks like, and then you don't have to worry about it again, right? So we can see an example of a report that is not very easy to maintain right out of the gate with our label report here. So labels are a super useful tool in Jira, right? They're an open text field where you can like tag issues with whatever you want. So they're very useful for like ad hoc reporting, or if you need to quickly group some issues together in an informal way. But this screenshot here is exactly why I recommend against using them for big reports. Because folks can type in anything, that means that if you have typos or different formatting, or like if we look at that Q2 deliverable and see somebody used a dash and somebody else used an underline, you can't really control for that with labels, which means if this was my report, what I would probably go in and do is go fix our sales typo at the bottom. I would switch the labels for the Q2 deliverable, one of them, group together marketing. So there's like a bunch of manual effort just to sort of fix user error that you shouldn't need to be doing. So part of making them easy to maintain is using like established data points like custom fields or system fields, so that you aren't stuck correcting labels all the time or going back and editing the issues to make the data look better. When we're talking maintainability, though, not only is it important to make sure that we're looking at established pieces of information, but also that we're not making them too complex. So if you've ever been handed a report from something like a more intense BI tool, you've probably seen something that looks like this. This screenshot's from EasyBI, which is a great reporting tool, but very complicated. So if you've ever felt the pain of being handed a report like this, or a report in a tool that you don't understand that has a steep learning curve, I'm sure you felt this pain. So on that note, if a report is easy to build, it's going to be easy to maintain, which is why the editor for custom charts is simple enough that like just about anybody, including non-technical users, can use it. So when we're looking at this, it's pretty straightforward. There's a limited amount of things that you need to figure out, right? So we've got this chart connected to a simple search gadget that I'll show y'all in just a little bit. I've selected a line chart. I want a chart by created dates, and then I've got a dynamic date range in here. So we can see that here, which leads me into my next point. In making your reports easy to maintain, avoiding things like hard coding dates or usernames is going to be hugely beneficial. If you can have like dynamic date ranges in your reports, do it. Setting it to be the past 30 days is gonna continue to be the past 30 days, right? And I won't have to go in, at the beginning of the month and update the JQL or update whatever range I have on the chart, right? Nobody wants to do that. Okay. So the next best practice that we have with your Jira dashboards and reports is to make them easy to find. So a dashboard, it's not really any use to somebody who can't find it, right? So if you make a beautiful dashboard that's the best report that your company's ever produced, it doesn't do much good if nobody can see it, right? So let's talk about making your dashboards easy to find. So there's a few tips here. The very first is clear and descriptive names, right? This one's a little obvious, but if your dashboard is about a specific program or project or team, include that in the name. If users are searching for dashboards and you've just got a bunch of generic names like project update without more specifics, they're just not going to click on them, right? They'll just scroll right past them, and then nobody's ever going to see your beautiful dashboard. Next, share them when appropriate. So when your dashboard is one that somebody else would benefit from, be sure to update the shared permissions on the dashboard. I think probably most of us have run into the case where you send a link to your awesome new dashboard to one of your coworkers and they can't access it. So with that, I tend to do the sharing right when I create them, so I don't forget, because I probably will forget later. So share them with your project or your organization or some specific users right out of the gate, and then you don't have to worry about it. Almost as important is not sharing your dashboards when they aren't something that other people would care about or benefit from. So I make dashboards just for myself all the time, right? Any user can create a dashboard, and they can be really great for personal tracking. Sometimes they're unique to the work you're doing, or like just how you want to keep track of your workload. You don't need to share those. So it's great to create them. I think very useful, and everybody should create dashboards for themselves. But if you share all of your personal dashboards, it'll clutter up the search and make it harder for folks to find more broadly relevant dashboards. So it clutters it up, just like misnaming your dashboard would with like a really generic name. Same thing, people won't be able to find the tools that are really going to help them. Okay, and then last, we have linked them wherever your team does their work. So using shortcuts to your dashboards is, I think, one of the best things you can do to make sure people actually look at them or use them. You can link to, there's a lot of places in Jira and Confluence that you can link to. So we've got like your project sidebar, your project sidebar, like I've got on the slide here. You could also link in your Confluence sidebar in your team space or project space, or just hard code it on one of your Confluence landing pages. But linking them elsewhere is a great way for folks to just stumble upon them. And does tie into another important note. We haven't talked much about Confluence today, but if your team mostly works in Confluence, create your reports in Confluence. Folks and teams who rely heavily on Confluence, it's unlikely that they'll go to Jira just for a dashboard, and unnecessary if you can pull information into Confluence. So that's why we've got custom charts for Confluence, because really some folks do just live there, and so bringing the reports to them, making them easily accessible, is just going to do a great job for getting that visibility. Okay, so I wanted to show y'all a little bit, jump into a quick demo and see how we've implemented some things to align to these best practices. Cool, so we've got a dashboard here. Let's zoom in, get this a little bit bigger for y'all. Okay, so this is a dashboard. We've got some custom charts on here, and I wanted to walk through some ways you can make your dashboards just work better for you. So when we're talking audience, this is our support dashboard. I use this to manage our support portal for our apps. The very first thing sort of we did when creating this dashboard was establish audience, right? So the audience is folks who are working on our in our service desk who are managing our support tickets. So with that, these are all about our support portal. You can see a pretty wide variety of information, but we tied it all together with Simple Search. So up here in the corner, this is Simple Search. It is a gadget that comes with custom charts for Jira and Confluence. What it does is allow you to basically filter your charts down straight from the dashboard. So if we look here, this is our support portal. We've got all of our different apps on all different platforms, but let's say that I only care about cloud today. Sounds a little bit like Atlassian, right? So I'll select cloud, we'll hit the search, and you'll notice that all of my charts are updating. So what that did was filter down all of the charts on the page so we could see only cloud-related support tickets. So part of tailoring to your audience can be giving them options, right? So looking at this dashboard, sometimes I really do only want to see cloud, or sometimes I only do want to see custom charts for Jira. That's the, what I want to drill into. Not always though. So having the ability to filter down lets it be relevant for more, more than just one situation. So that's a great way to make your dashboards super informative and able to be to give folks the ability to drill down. So we've got that. Another thing, so let's actually walk through one of these gadgets. So we've got a ton, but let's dig into this request type here. So this is it's a pretty good one. There are some things I would like to change about it. So let's make it full screen so you guys can see everything here. And we'll configure this gadget. So here you see the custom charts editor. It's a single gadget for all of the different chart types you saw, so you can just sort of click through and see what you see how you want to display the data. But let's look at this one. This one's pretty informative, but it's not quite as clean as I would like. What I really want to do is I want all of these options to show at once. I don't want to have to expand it. I think it just looks a little cleaner. And I also want to combine these two. There's no need for those to be separate items here. So what I'm going to do, we're already connected to our simple search gadget. I've got a funnel chart. This may actually be something that looks a little better as a pie chart. I don't know. I love a good pie chart. So let's switch that. So switching between the chart types is really just as easy as clicking through up here. We're charting by request type here. So that's through the support portal or if folks email in, and we have that request type. And let's move over to the right side here. So in order to make this report a little bit clearer, I'm going to combine these two options. So to do that, I'm going to hit this plus sign right here to add option. And then you see I've used all of the options already displaying on the chart. But if I select this ask a question widget option, it automatically groups those together. The numbers are combined. So that's good. But I don't really like how it says both of these here. I really just want it to say ask a question. So I'm going to come over to this pencil here and rename it. There we go. Nice and easy. So now they're just one line on the report. I think it's clear. It's a little easier to read. And let's see, then there's this. I want all the information. There's only one option hiding. So what I'm going to do is go into my chart and scroll down here, and we've got limit legend rows. It was set to 4 previously. Let's get rid of the limit. So if I leave this blank, it'll just show all of them, and now it's all looking good here. So that was like a few quick steps. Took just a minute or two to make this report, I think, a little cleaner. Could maybe go back to a funnel chart here, but maybe let's make it more of a funnel and sort big to small. There we go. I like that. So then I can see what people are submitting the most requests about at the top, and then increasing or decreasing requests as we go down. So that looks good. I'm happy with that. So I will save my gadget. We will put it back where it was, and our charts will reload, and they'll connect to simple search, and so they'll make sure they're all filtered down correctly, and there's our updated chart. So nice and easy. We were able to make just a few tweaks and work with what we've got here to have a dashboard that's like, honestly, it's got a ton of information, but if I want to see less, I can. If I want to see more, I can too. And we can really just adapt this as we go. So that's sort of what it looks like in practice. let's jump back into our slides here. So with that, quick refresher. So let's review that really quickly. So when we're building reporting of any kind, but especially Jira Dashboards, we want to make sure they're informative, right? Be intentional about the information that you're including so your audience gets the information that they need. Make sure they're easy to understand. If you can't quickly figure out what a report is telling you, try to simplify it. Don't set yourself up for a lot of work. Make your dashboards easy to maintain so you can spend as little time as possible building reports, right? You've got bigger and better things to be worrying about. And then last, again, doesn't matter how beautiful your dashboard is if nobody knows that it exists or how to find it. So you've got a lot of options with dashboarding. Jira dashboards are really powerful. But you guys do it. You can make some dashboards that look good and are functional. Great. Okay. Well, thank you for your time today. I hope that y'all got something out of our Jira Reporting Dashboard Best Practices. If you want to learn more about custom charts for Jira, check us out on the Atlassian Marketplace or at oldstreetsolutions.com. Okay. Thanks, everyone.